Michael Schumacher, statistically, the greatest Formula One driver of all time. 7 Drivers' World Championships, a figure that at one point seemed unattainable by any other driver through periods of dominance from teams such as Williams, Lotus, McLaren, Red Bull, but it was with Schumacher and Ferrari winning 5 world championships in a row 2000, 2001, 2, 3, and 2004, which gave Michael Schumacher a complete set of 7 titles with the 2 he got from Benetton earlier in the 90s. That being said, at the moment, we're going through a similar kind of period of dominance in Formula One. Mercedes, ever since the hybrid era started, all the way back in 2014 now, a Mercedes driver has won every single world championship. And so far, in 2019, that looks to continue, with Lewis Hamilton scoring 250 points out of a total 312. There's no denying he has bossed it so far this season. And so far, it's looking not only that he could get 6 world titles, 7, finally starting to look like a realistic target for Lewis Hamilton. So, the main focus of today, can Lewis not only hit 7 titles, but become the first man to claim 8? That's what we're going to be discussing. If you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. We're doing daily Formula One content over this long summer break. It's almost over now, just, less than 2 weeks to go till the Belgian Grand Prix. And funnily enough, 28 years ago at the Belgian Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher made his Formula One debut for Jordan. And whilst it didn't last particularly long, retiring in the early stages of the race, an impressive qualifying and an impressive first stint of that race got him a drive with Benetton. The rest is history. 2 titles with Benetton, moving to Ferrari, a bit of a drought period, and then those 5 back-to-back world titles. It wasn't the easiest of runs for Schumacher, going through a period where Williams were one of the teams to beat, as well as McLaren, intense rivalries with drivers like Damon Hill, Mika Hakkinen, and to the end of his Ferrari reign, Fernando Alonso. Schumacher, 308 Grand Prix, 7 titles, 91 victories, still the most races, titles and victories for any driver, 155 podiums and 77 fastest laps are still world records held today. He did have a bit of a taint on his record, did Michael Schumacher, and that was his return to Formula One, returning in 2010 with the Mercedes team. Stayed for 3 seasons, so 2010, 2011 and 2012. In 2012 he picked up his final Formula One podium in Valencia alongside Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen on that particular day. A real emotional race that was for almost all Formula One fans. However, he was replaced in 2013 at Mercedes after Rosberg had done a pretty solid job, to be honest with you, in those 3 seasons up against Schumacher. Schumacher decided to hang up his boots for a second time. Mercedes, they had a choice to make. Who did they bring into this team? They went for Lewis Hamilton, and again, the rest is history. 241 races so far for Lewis Hamilton compared to 308 for Schumacher. Hamilton currently sits on 5 titles, 2008 the first with McLaren, then 2014, 2015, 2017 and 2018. 81 victories, just 10 behind Schumacher, which means he cannot beat Schumacher's record this season. But if he wins every single remaining race, he can claim 92 race victories next year in Bahrain. Hamilton does, however, have the record for pole positions, 87 to his name, comfortably in front of Schumacher's 68. Hamilton has 144 podiums. Schumacher has 11 more with 155. So again, Hamilton won't be able to beat that particular statistic so far this season. But Hamilton, with a changed around point system over the years through the 2000s and into the 2010s, Lewis Hamilton has 3,268 points compared to Michael Schumacher's 1,566. So the statistics at the moment are definitely in Schumacher's favour. That being said, Schumacher has competed 67 more times in a Formula One Grand Prix than Lewis Hamilton, which roughly in modern terms equates to 3 more full seasons of Formula One. So, Lewis Hamilton currently tops the 2019 standings. Let's try and map out potentially how he could take away Schumacher's world record of 7 world titles. We'll start with 2019. I think we can all agree Hamilton at the midway stage, 12 races we've completed so far out of 21, so not really the midway stage, but we're currently in the summer break. Hamilton looks in control. It looks very unlikely that his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who impressed in the first few races, it seems unlikely now that he's going to be able to challenge Hamilton for the title. Many feel, including myself, after a really impressive end just before the summer break, Max Verstappen for Red Bull Racing with a Honda engine could be the most likely driver of the entire field to challenge Hamilton. Something drastic really has to go wrong for Lewis not to claim it this year. We're talking multiple DNFs. We're talking Verstappen winning almost every single race. Hamilton has been so strong in the first half of the season. 8 wins out of 12. We know he's a Formula One legend, and if he retired today, he would go down as one of the greats. It seems very likely that he's going to get 6 titles. Let's have a look at next season, because 7 is the magic number. Will that be added pressure? I think so. Hamilton himself says it's not something that he particularly enjoys looking at the Formula One statistics, and it's something that doesn't particularly play on his mind. I disagree with that statement, and I think for any driver, 1 world title is the goal, then 2, then 3, and then you're thinking, oh my god, here we go. You're already up into the levels of the greats. And Hamilton now currently sits on 5, joint second place with Fangio. Gets 6, he is second place. Only Schumacher is in front. I think he will be not fully focused on it, but subconsciously, yes, that's definitely going to be on his mind. Pressure will be there. I think the more interesting thing for the 2020 season is Mercedes. First of all, who's Hamilton's teammate going to be? We've spoken about it in length. Is Bottas going to stay, or are they going to bring in Esteban Ocon? I personally think if Bottas stays, Hamilton, well, I think most of us would agree, is going to remain the number 1 driver within that team. And I also think that'll be the same if Esteban Ocon comes into the team. But with a shake-up within any team, that's going to cause some changes, some dilemmas and some dramas. What kind of effect would that have at a team like Mercedes? I don't think too much, but it's definitely something to consider. And how much pace will Esteban Ocon have in that Mercedes? Hamilton, arguably, is coming to the end of his prime. So far already we've seen this season, his Achilles heel seems to be qualifying, something that historically has definitely been Hamilton's strong suit. As I said earlier, most pole positions comfortably in Formula One history. So if Ocon comes into the team, could that just change up the dynamic slightly? Could that leave the door open just a little bit for another driver to potentially claim the title? Who knows? I think the bigger question for next year is Ferrari. So far in 2019, they've not won a single race. And whilst I think that will change, especially with Grand Prix such as Belgium, Italy, Mexico, coming up in the next few rounds, I think Ferrari at least are going to win 1 race this season. Surely they've got the best engine on the grid. Both drivers haven't been consistent enough, but also Mercedes have just been better. Are Ferrari and Red Bull as well, we can throw them into the mix, how much of a challenge are they going to put on Mercedes next season? Because for sure, when we came out of winter testing this year, Mercedes didn't look the quickest. It did seem to be Ferrari had the pace on paper. They proved it in Bahrain, but ever since have really struggled. Yes, there's been a little bit of an unlucky nature around Ferrari this season, but several times through poor strategy, driver mistakes, they've put themselves in difficult positions. Will they make the same mistakes next year? Well, that's yet to be seen, but for sure, I think Ferrari will come back stronger. And so will Hamilton win next year? That's a massive question. I think on the balance of probability, it's very likely. As I said earlier, Mercedes have won every single season since the hybrid era. I also look at 2021, which we're going to discuss in a moment. One of arguably Formula One's biggest ever regulation changes that, to be honest, we still don't know a fat lot about. How much is that going to shake up the grid? Because that's the entire reason we're having 2021, is to try and shake up the grid, try and give teams further down the order, like teams like Williams, the chance to maybe find that something that no one else has done. Look at 2009, Brawn GP. Only in it for that 1 year, but they worked out how to implement the double diffuser into their car. Their car was the best on the grid. Every other team was trying to match them. And whilst Red Bull was able to do that over the season, they had such a good start to the year, they won that title. Mercedes, they're going to be in prime position for next year. How much are they focusing on 2021? Will they abandon 2020? Likewise with Ferrari. Will they just say now, let's just leave next year, have another difficult year and really bounce back in 2021? And it's that mindset which I find so fascinating for 2021. What are teams going to do next year? Will they sacrifice the year and driver lineups? Next year, if they are planning on sacrificing the car, is it a good time to bring in a new driver? Mercedes, if they're expecting to win next year, is it a good time to bring in Ocon to give him that experience in a race-winning car? All of these factors, especially at the moment, are difficult to tell, but we can take an educated guess, and I think it is highly likely that Hamilton will claim a 7th world title in 2020. He has been on fire. Not only this season, I personally think last season was his best ever season in Formula One history. There's also been chances for Hamilton to win titles in years he didn't go on and win it. 2007, his rookie year, missed out by 1 point. 2012, arguably, for a good period of that season, McLaren had the best car. 2010, he went into the final race of the season with a chance to win the title. So, already, he could be at that number. But I think this year, nailed on. 2020, more likely than not, Hamilton is going to claim a 7th. But then, we go back to the title of the video. Hamilton versus Schumacher, the best of all time. Can Hamilton claim an 8th? Because we all know if Hamilton... I mean, for sure, we've not really discussed Hamilton retiring from Formula One, and I'm not particularly going to discuss that in much detail in this video, because I think, realistically, why leave now when you're in the best car, the best team on the grid, and there are more chances to win world titles? Okay, if Mercedes drop back in 2021, fair enough. But at the moment, I don't see that happening. 2021. What's going to happen? Well, the honest answer is nobody knows. As much as important media outlets and even guys in the comments section would love to tell you everything that's going to happen, as if there's some kind of profit, nobody knows. And that's what makes sport brilliant. That's what makes Formula One so brilliant. The fact is, Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, McLaren, teams that have a budget are going to really benefit. Even if Formula One brings in this cost cap, they will still benefit. They are giant organisations with one purpose: to win races. That's what they will do. So, will Mercedes still be at the front? We don't know. Ferrari have just as much might. Renault, the biggest car manufacturer in the world. How are they going to be able to improve? They seem to already have this year dropped back a little bit. Is this strategic for 2021? You've got younger drivers coming through. Max Verstappen. We didn't even speak about him for next year, for 2020. How much is he going to be able to grow over the rest of 2019? How much are Red Bull and Honda? That partnership is going to be another year older. Honda, we haven't even mentioned them this video. How are they going to improve for 2021? That is the big question mark. And that is Lewis Hamilton's, well, again, his Achilles heel in 2021. Are Mercedes going to be able to provide him a car? And will he still have the same drive? Because he would have reached 7 titles. Will that be enough for Lewis Hamilton? Will Esteban Ocon be his teammate at that point? I personally think it's very likely that in 2021 Hamilton and Ocon will be the true drivers at Mercedes. Who is going to be that number 1 driver? What's that dynamic going to be like? Hamilton, we saw his highly toxic relationship with Nico Rosberg. What's it going to be like with Ocon? I think both of them will get along. But if Ocon starts challenging Hamilton, taking away some of that preferential treatment, how does that change the dynamic? And with teams like Red Bull, that for sure are focusing on Max Verstappen, they're making that very clear that Max Verstappen is their guy. Is Max going to be able to, like Sebastian Vettel did over the start of the 2010s, is he going to be able to carve his way that he is a one-man team but wins titles? Verstappen for sure is good enough, and many would argue Verstappen is better than Lewis Hamilton at this current time in Formula 1. Of course, Germany fresh in the mind doesn't help Lewis's case, but there's also other drivers coming up through the ranks in Formula 1. Charles Leclerc. Yeah, I think many people forget this is only his second season in Formula 1. He's only just competed in over 30 Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton have done 241 and 308 Grand Prix. So Charles Leclerc, going into his third season, his fourth season with Ferrari, is Vettel going to still be in the picture? Is Sebastian Vettel going to be able to bounce back? Are Ferrari going to be the team at the front, then Red Bull, then Renault? Where are McLaren? There's so many different factors going into 2021, and that's where this becomes really difficult to say, and sadly, I'm going to leave it open. Do I want to take that leap? Well, I'd love to, but it's impossible to tell. I think it's very straightforward for this season. Hamilton, it will take a miracle for any other driver to take the title. Next year, I think Hamilton has positioned himself perfectly to be able to claim 7 world titles. 8? 9? Will Hamilton even stay to try and aim for 10? Nobody knows. But what other drivers potentially could take 7, could take 8? Maybe there's someone we're missing that could become the greatest of all time. We've just spoken about Max Verstappen in his 5th season of Formula 1. That's a crazy statistic. What's even more crazy, he's 21 years old. 21. Next year, Kimi Raikkonen is going to be 41. So Max Verstappen, in theory, if he stayed till he was 41, could compete in 25 seasons of Formula 1. Max Verstappen, currently, is one of the best on the grid. Most drivers enter their prime in their mid-30s. He's only going to get better. 7, when you consider 7 out of 25 world championships. You know what? It seems to me like Verstappen could do it. All he's going to need is the car. And at the moment, that's been what he's been struggling with. Red Bull have not delivered on a world championship car. You look at other drivers that potentially it'll be a little bit more left of field, but you look at the 2 McLaren boys. How are McLaren going to do? Well, again, we don't know. And it's unlikely that either Sainz or Norris are going to win before 2021. But both drivers, especially this season, I think, have proven they could be world championship quality. You've got Daniel Ricciardo, who again, I consider to be a world champion quality driver at Renault. What can he do? And again, Charles Leclerc, just like Max Verstappen, could easily be in Formula 1 for 20, 25 years. That's a long time. And that's plenty of time to position yourself in a team. But both of them already, in top teams, can really cement their position in Formula 1. And I think both of them have proved that they are world-class drivers. And if a team, let's just, for argument's sake, say Renault, become the best team on the grid in 2021, these drivers will be able to go to the top teams because they've proven themselves. Is there anyone else at the moment lower down in Formula 2, Formula 3? That's definitely too early to tell. Especially Formula 2 this year. It's not been the best crop of drivers, but even then, we've got a certain Mick Schumacher in the field. So potentially, in 2021, Hamilton and Schumacher could be fighting for the title. Bit extreme. I don't think Mick Schumacher, will quite be in a title hunt for Formula 1 for quite some time, but it could happen. We've seen stranger things. Look at the moment, Gasly and Albon swapping around. You never know what's going to happen in Formula 1. But if I was going to take an educated guess right here, right now, in 2019 in the Formula 1 summer break, I think Lewis Hamilton will claim at least 8 world championships and will statistically become the greatest ever Formula 1 driver. It's been a juicy video. It's been a tasty time here today, ladies and gents. And of course, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. I will also put up a poll in the top right hand corner so you can vote for who you think is going to claim the most world titles. But who do you think is just flat out best driver of all time? You all know I have my soft spot for Romain Grosjean and Pastor Maldonado, but I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you are new, like if you enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.